Okay, wait. So I also want to introduce my co-pilot, not partner in crime, as Brandon said. Co-pilot, partner in crime, Liz Stewart, who is our Deputy Sector Navigator for Global Trade and Logistics. As we joke with her regularly, she comes with a compass because she keeps us on track and has truly been a partner in crime. We're very excited that Leah Gould is going to be joining us in LA as our LA Deputy Sector Navigator for GTL. And we're going to have a dream team between the two counties. Seriously, these two ladies are just awesome. So today we're going to talk to you a little bit about educating students for success in global trade and logistics. So we have a PowerPoint, but I'm not seeing it. And I need to get our panelists up here. So if you give us just a second, we'll get ourselves set up. And if you are okay being way out there, if you want to come on in, come closer, we'd love to have a little bit more intimate group. We want to have a conversation with you. So hold on just a second, we'll get ourselves set up. All right, oh, PowerPoint, very cool. All right, so educating students for the 21st century global marketplace. How many of you are faculty? All right, and the rest are administrators? I got a couple table here. What do you do?
With the LBUSC and with the Youth Employment Network.
Very good.
Different programs, CDP, CalPromise.
All right, very good. And this table over here?
Housing Authority.
Housing Authority. All right. And way over there? Garden Road Unified. Awesome. So we've got high school, we've got community college, any university, we've got one. There we go. Where are you from? Oh, wonderful. Welcome. Fantastic. So Lynn and I are going to take a little bit of time to talk to you about process and some opportunities to build programs. Now, the challenge is, I know everybody's at a little different phase of what they're doing. We heard earlier in the showcase that some of the colleges have implemented programs, others have long established programs, others are developing. So we're going to talk to you about some of the opportunities, processes, and then partnerships that can help you grow your programs that are really critical in building that student momentum and bottom line enrollments, which is what we all need. So if we could go to the next slide. So faculty needs. After being an educator for many years and working on program development and course development and talking to faculty across the country, we found out that there are about 5 different things that faculty really look at, colleges look at when they're determining what's on their plate. Course and program creation. And course and program creation can be a little bit scary because we always ask the question, if we build it, will they come? Right? We invest time and energy and our heart and soul in evaluating and developing, and nobody shows up. So today we're going to talk to you a little bit about tools and tricks to that trade to see if we can help build that momentum and get some of those students in the seats to help grow our programs. Creating pathways. Today's world is all about pathways. And so joining us on our panel is Teresa Hagelbarger, who is a former Orange Unified School District teacher. And we're going to talk to you about the pathway created through articulation from high school to community college. And Dr. Chris Swowart from Cal State Fullerton. He is the Director of International Business Center.
Jack of all trades.
Co-pilot from Cal State Fullerton. And the process of creating articulation transfer agreements from community college to university, because that is one of our challenges. So we're going to talk a little bit about how that happens and the benefit. Those pathways take some time to develop. They are intensive processes of evaluating curriculum and classes and programming and offerings and scheduling. But those pathways create amazing marketing tools and communication tools we use with our students. And so we're talking to you about that. Global trade and logistics, content and infusion. Not every school, not every college, not every campus can offer a GTL program. But can we get our students to start thinking globally? Can we give them that global mindset? Can we create content that can be infused in different courses? Whether it's history or English or, I don't know, administration. What if they took a geography class? How about math and science classes? Can they have a global component? So we'll talk a little bit about that today. Okay, if we're going to do all that, where do we get the resources? So Lynn is going to talk to you a lot about resources and places you can go to find that information, either for creating course or for infusing content. And last but not least, marketing, right? We're always selling. When we signed up to be full-time teachers, nobody told us we're going to be half salesperson, right? We thought if we offered the classes, they would be there. Does that always happen? Yeah, no. So we're always selling. We're going to talk a little bit about how we've done that and provide you with some ideas and hopefully have a conversation, because best practices come from a pool of knowledge and wealth. And so if we can capture some information and share it, I think that'd be a great win for everybody. All right. So if we could go to the next slide, I want to quickly just run through a step-by-step in terms of course and program creation. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, simply because we can spend a lot of time here. And we've got about 90 minutes to chat with you, and this is a very deep process. So just as a very quick overview. Many of you have gone through the process, and PRO-GTL is working on that. The Doing What Matters initiative is supporting it. Everybody's out there trying to help us figure out what are the skills gaps. So there's a lot of research out there already. We don't need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of time analyzing that. We need to identify the analysis that are out there and take that information and look at what we've got and what we need and fill the gaps. All right? What do we already have on our campus that we're offering? What courses are out there? What courses are out there that could provide the foundation but might need a little tweaking? We might have to edit or add a module into a particular class, and we've got one piece of a certificate program already set up, right? Oftentimes we think when we're developing new programs, we're starting from scratch. Not the case. Not the case. So we've got research out there. The DSNs are doing it. PRO-GTL is doing it. We talked, Ed, you talked about what the Center for Excellence is doing in terms of the research. There's stuff out there. The key is tapping into those resources and not starting over, right? So do the industry needs assessment, get the information, take gap analysis, right? What do we have? What do we need? Right? Identify what we can create. The next step is then writing courses, right? Faculty loves to write courses. We love those CORs, right? How many of you are in love with Curriculum these days? Ah, I gotta love that Curriculum thing, right? The whole curriculum approval process. My fingers are crossed, and I'm betting on that task force that we can implement some of those changes to get our curriculum approved faster. But until that happens, right, we're going to keep plodding away, because if we wait another year, it's another year. So the idea being is that we get some courses written. Now, do you have to start from scratch? Do you have to do it with no funding? There's funding out there. How many of you know who your DSN is? How many of you talk to them about funding? Not many, all right. Some colleges look at curriculum development as part of the faculty's responsibility. Well, curriculum is, but if you're developing new programs, if you're creating new courses, there's funding out there to support that. And realistically, do you have time to write new courses and create new pedagogy while you're teaching your classes? No. So what a great summer project. Right? Extra funding, create some courses and programs. Talk to your deans as far as PRO-GTL funding. Right? They're all going to hate me. All right, update existing courses. That's taking a look at what you already have and tweaking it. At Santa Ana College, we took our program, and we wanted to align it to the National Credential for International Trade, the Certified Global Business Professional exam. We went course by course and aligned it to the rubric. What did you have to know for this test, and in what class did we teach it? Right? We found out we were covering about 80% of what was tested on the exam. We took that other 20% and we created modules and put it into our existing courses. Right? Made sure that we were covering the information we needed to give the students in order to pass the test. And it's been quite a few years and it's been very successful. Now, we also created a new course. We needed a little bit extra. Right? That's the process we go through. Once you get your courses created, then you start with your programs. Right? You want to make sure you're not doing all new courses. You've got to do substantive change and all those kinds of things. But how many of you are looking at creating 3 to 4 to 4 class, what they call skill builder or stackable certificates? Right? Take a couple of classes you have, maybe add a new class. Right? Those little certificates wake up our high school students. Wake up students that might just be taking a business class and they say, gosh, I only need 2 more classes and I have a certificate. And now they get 1 certificate and they move on to get the next certificate. And before you know it, they can take a math class, and an English class, and a history class, and what do they have? They have an AA degree. Right? It's a process. Yes. Question?
Do you have an example of a stackable degree that are stackable certificates that have been successful?
Very much so. We just launched something called the Survey of International Business Certificate. It's a 3-class certificate. The question was, did you have an example of a successful stackable? We took our intro to business. Everybody has a Business 100, Fundamentals of Business. We took our intro to international business and our culture class. Some of you might have a cultural communications or cultural anthropology class. We have a cultural business class. You take those 3 classes, Survey of International Business. Those 3 classes are part of our International Business Certificate, which is 4 more classes. Add 3 more classes in your Gen Ed, and you have your AA degree in International Business. Right? And what we find is we have a lot of students who take a Business 100 class. We say, would you like a global perspective? They take the Intro to International Business, 1 more class, and they have a certificate. That's the certificate we're promoting with our high school partners. And this semester we'll be awarding 8 Survey of International Business certificates to local high school students who are on our campus taking classes.
So how many businesses is that?
The first one, Survey of International Business, is 9 units. And then we add 15 is the next one. So we add those 2 together and they get the International Business Certificate. And then the degree is 9 more units plus Gen Ed. Yes?
Would you recommend having a language class in the International Business Certificate or not?
It depends. It depends on, the question was, do you need a language class in your certificate? It depends on what you want your focus to be. The focus of our International Business Certificate is transaction level trade. So we teach students how to do international documentation, methods of payment. They do market research and market entry projects. So we don't have that, but with the degree, they get it in the Gen Ed. That's where we put it. Okay? All right. Last but not least is developing that pedagogy, developing the tools for teaching. Make it practical and hands-on. Give them something to do. This global world out there is big and scary, but when they realize they can touch it and feel it and accomplish it, it's amazing the transformation that happens. They start talking to people, you start talking to people and working with your DSNs. Not only will you bring in your local college students, those that are in your fundamentals of business classes, but you're also going to start bringing in industry partners, people who are in the business and somebody said, hey, could you do this international shipment for us? They come in and get trained. And these are the opportunities that we can grow with. So developing the pedagogy is the last piece once you've got your courses together. All right? I know there are a lot of questions, and what we're hoping to do through the faculty work group is have a working session for the colleges, for the teachers, for the professors who are interested in putting programs together to literally bring you in and work at tables and help you develop your programs. So stay tuned, stay in touch with PRO-GTL. Our goal is to help you develop programs. From our perspective, there are more than enough students to go around, right? And we can't get enough of them thinking globally. So the more of us that are doing this, the better off we are. All right. Yes, ma'am. One more.
What college has these stackables you just told me about?
Santa Ana College.
Santa Ana.
And there's a brochure out there on the resource table, which has our Global Trade Skills Certificate in there. Okay? All right. So I'm going to transition now to pathways and talk to you a little bit about the opportunity to create pathways with our K through 12 partners. Now, our partnership happened by accident, but what an accident it was. First of all, you've got to embrace the fact that articulation is a win-win. Right? And a lot of faculty are not quite there yet. They think that if a student takes a class at the high school, that means I've lost a student here at my college. Well, the reality of it is they may not come to your college anyways, but now they've got units, right? Not to mention the fact that if they get 1 or 2 of your classes, now there's some excitement that they might come finish the certificate with you. So this is a win-win, right? Not to mention the fact that you're giving your high school partners an opportunity to create that pathway, right? But the kicker on that is you've got to create a partnership. Dual enrollment is the big discussion right now, and that is an option. It takes a little bit more work in terms of your college deciding what type of dual enrollment agreements you're going to have, how you're going to do that. Also some issues with regards to hiring the faculty. You've got to make sure that the faculty that are teaching at the high schools meet your min-quals, which they don't. They may not for business. That means a master's in business administration. So they might not. So articulation really can begin that process and open that door for you. Focus on your introductory classes, right? Intro to International Business is A through G. Went up to the state, not yet. All right, we're working on getting Intro to International Business A through G approved, which is the K through 12 information. But there are courses that are developed, there's pedagogy that's developed, and it's available to your high school partners. Work with the instructors to help them adapt, right? For those of you that teach community college, you meet with your students once or twice a week, maybe 3 times. Our high school partners, God love them, they meet with those students 5 days a week, right? They've got to break things down into smaller chunks. So while we may be able to lecture for 3 hours and have all kinds of activities, they've got to break things down into 50-minute bite-sized pieces. And remember, they're high school students. So we want to maintain the rigor, we want to maintain the content, but we may have to do that in a little different way. And that's your opportunity as faculty to work with your high school partners, right? So I want to introduce to you Teresa Hagelbarger, and I want her to give you some insight from the high school perspective as to what this really meant to the high schools. So from a high school teacher's perspective and from the student's perspective, what's the benefit of the articulation group?
We started our program back in 2005. We started writing it, and I had already worked with both adult and high school students. And actually, there was a law that changed, and it pushed us out from RLP centers onto high school campuses. And it was a big transition, and that is at the same time providing the classes with Santa Ana College. I took on international business, which is their Business 125, and the Business 106, which is the global cultures and marketing at the high school level. And really the biggest piece, I think, for students, the takeaway was, for many of them, while I taught at a very high socioeconomic school, my students didn't live in that city. My students came from other areas to get to our high school, at Villa Park High School. And the majority of those students had very limited ideas of what career opportunities were out there for them. If they looked at their own families, there was a certain limit on what it was that they could do or that they had tried to pursue. In many cases, due to limited education and resources in pursuing a higher education. And one of the biggest benefits was, one, they were able to see what it was like to be in a college course. The college course was not dumbed down. In fact, it was kind of a little bit harder. Madeline can attest to this. And in fact, they ended up adapting some of the programs and projects that we did at the high school level because she saw the quality of work the students could do. It surprises the students and it builds their confidence at the same time that they're capable of doing the work. It's having somebody who is strong enough to bring them up to that higher level. They're used to, in high school, in many cases, a lot of the students that I've worked with, as long as I pass, I graduate. And we told them, you know, you can't see your way through college, even though you can see and pass the class. That's not going to help you get the college credits. We did have a rigor of an A or B in order to get the college credit part of it. And so again, for a lot of those students, they hadn't been held to that level of workload and completedness. And students who wouldn't write English papers, could be a paragraph, could be an essay, we'll not even talk about reports, would come in and write entire MLA reports and projects and create business plans in the program. And we finally started to work, I'm going to skip a little bit to articulate or to collaboration, where I went out on our campus and worked with other departments with students who were failing other classes. And said, you know what, the student wrote this paper. Is there a way that we can work together so the student can pass English? You can grade it for the English content, that's fine, I'd love to not have to do that. And I'll only grade it for the actual content on the paper. We did the same thing with students that couldn't connect with sciences. There just wasn't, and we took an entrepreneurial perspective instead. Globally, how could we make a business out of a science idea? And the difference in their attitudes towards their science classes was just astounding. And the last thing I think was history, government, and economics, which my group of students slept through. They weren't interested in it. If it happened before, it didn't matter to them. If it was economics, it was something they would never be able to participate in. This was their attitude, not mine. And I showed them that by being involved with business, all of that wasn't true. And that the history really did matter, understanding what happened in the world culturally, politically, which brought in the government class as well. And in fact, it's one of the very first activities my students did was just realizing all of those other classes really mattered. You just had to make them work for you. I said, you get paid, back then a minimum wage was like $8.75. If you're going to work somewhere, our classes were 160 hours, 180 hours. You're going to work somewhere for 180 hours and you get nothing out of it? How crazy are you? Make those classes work for you. Make them relevant. The other biggest thing I think was just the exposure to the careers. I worked extensively since then with Lynn Stewart and Leanne from Long Beach City for LA County's DSNs in identifying what are those jobs called. Like, well, everything's international. I could be an international accountant. I could be an international lawyer. I could be an everything has a job. Everything that's a job can add the word international or global next to it. You get a little more money, and you have a little more fun because you get to talk to people around the world, or you get to travel. And for some students, that was the first time they could see that their culture and their language all of a sudden became really important.
Thank you, Teresa. So what were some of the challenges you faced with this whole articulation thing?
So for those of you who haven't articulated with high school yet, or high school that hasn't had an opportunity, the first biggest challenge was finding somebody who wanted to play. I actually met Professor Grant and Dr. Doolittle because I was trying to articulate accounting. And the accounting people didn't want to play. They're like, here's all our stuff, here's all the information, but we're not signing an agreement. And I said, okay. And then across the table, they were like, oh, she's really excited. So that's how we got connected. Totally, we're not supposed to be partners. That is exactly how we got connected. So one, if you don't see the benefits from either side, please take the time to have that discussion, start that dialogue. It's huge. And for students, which is a huge number, more so than the ones going straight to a 4-year, that could go to a 2-year school to start, need to know how to get to college. I didn't have family that went to college behind me, and having the articulation steps and stuff in place helped. But our other big problem was our students went, they passed the classes, and then we went to the college and said, okay, give us credit. And that's where we hit like tons of roadblocks because the process wasn't in place to the level that we would have liked it. And they would come back and they would say, Mrs. H, I don't know what the deal is, but they don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what department to go to. That college has too many offices, you know. And so really the infrastructure behind what the student, the process does is so important. We now have a CTE office that has a person that's designated to help with those things. So everybody knows where to send the students. They understand the process, and the students can get the credits added to their transcripts once they enroll and are an active student at the college. But that was several years because of the, I hate to use the word bureaucracy, but that's the right word of whose job was it and how are we going to track it and what really qualified as proof that they completed the class. Made me insane. Like they did all this work, and the hardest thing for them to do is to get the credits. That's crazy.
So find a willing partner, find somebody who wants to play. So community college teacher, that's on you, right? You gotta want to play, you gotta get in the sandbox with the high school teachers. Create that partnership, all right? When I was teaching, I would go to Teresa's class twice a semester. And she'd go, the college professor's coming, right? They all sharp and ready to ask questions. And I would go in and lecture on topics that she might not have had the expertise in. I'd go in and sell Santa Ana College. Right? I talked to them about the opportunities and what we were working on and the things that we were doing. We would invite them to the campus. At the end of the semester, we had an event. We invited all the high school students, right? And Teresa would bring her class. So we created that connection, which was absolutely fantastic. And process, create a process. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if Teresa is involved in the dual enrollment. You mentioned that. And it may be hard to get teachers to teach those, and they may not be qualified for the minimum quals of the master's in business. So what happens? You can't get teachers.
So she's asking what about those minimum quals for the college, community college. At the time I was teaching the class, I didn't have an MBA, but I was qualified to teach at the high school. And that was actually pretty liberating because I had all of the background, I had the skills, I had worked in industry for 15 years for several global companies, and I was well prepared in that regards, but I didn't have an MBA, and I wasn't teaching for Santa Ana College, I was teaching for Orange Unified School District. That was my employer of record, and I was the instructor of record for the college.
So that's why we went with the articulation agreement instead of the dual enrollment. So if you're going to go dual enrollment, the teacher presenting the class has to meet your minimum quals, and then you go through a hiring for no pay. You also got to have your dual enrollment agreement in place between the college and the high school, and your MOU, and all of those other things. So if your college is big into dual enrollment, that would be something to pursue. In between here and there, the articulation agreement can open those doors.
Maybe a question I had is for dual enrollment is we have many adjunct professors at Pasadena City College who would be willing and interested in teaching at the high school, but they don't want, the only people they want teaching those dual enrollment are the high school teachers because they say students won't respond to teachers that are not their high school teachers. And what do you think? Does that make sense?
Well, I think it's a bigger issue. Yeah. I'm being paid, so I have to be careful. It's more of a teacher union issue, to be very honest with you. If they don't want a non-high school teacher going in during the day and teaching a class. Oftentimes, you can get around that if the course is taught after the school day. That might be an option. We have courses being taught at the high schools. Brian actually teaches our Intro to Business and Intro to International Business at Century High School, but he teaches it at 3:30 in the afternoon. So not only is he a high school teacher, but he's also one of our adjuncts because he meets our min quals. So that might be a way to work around it. So, question, sir?
Yes, I'm from West LA College. I have a question regarding the pathways with the high school. I think it's great. I mean, I like the fact that you're talking about these certificates, these stackable certificates, offering them to high school students for credit. Has anyone thought of a lead-in, like a precursor to all of those certificates with a certificate that's maybe non-credit? So it's in a less threatening type of situation where, no grade given, but just to kind of get them on the track of jumping into something like this, and then allowing them those stackable for credit certificates.
So the question is should we offer opportunities through non-credit? And now that non-credit has equated to credit in terms of FTES, and we can now put it through the same process in terms of curriculum, would that be an opportunity? Teresa?
And I'm going to speak more from the teacher-student perspective. And again, my demographic, I know fits a lot of the demographics of the students that you serve as well, is the idea that this was a non-credit implies just that. This is not a college class. And what we were trying to really, or at least my biggest goal, was to show the students they could handle college. They had to learn how to study, because most of mine did not know how to study, and that they could get double bang for their buck. It is, in our school, it was a pass, no pass, credit, no credit, pardon me, credit, no credit. So their A or B that they got on their high school transcript was a credit on the college transcript. And so that's one thing to note. But it also started building those units and showing them the value. It just got them connected to college. And I don't know that, and I could be wrong, because I can think of a couple of our programs that where the no credit doesn't exist so much as a college, but it would be maybe a filler. But I know for our students, it was the college credit. That was a huge drive to pull them in. And my classes were full every semester with wait lists.
One of the options for non-credit might be we're creating a CTE Career Tech Ed pathway class, where it's the Get Focused, Stay Focused plan. And we're going to be working in the dual enrollment process with one of our other feeder schools to help the students start creating those pathways back in the 9th grade. And so that might be a great option to offer or non-credit. All right. So to wrap up, what's the benefit? What do you feel is the biggest opportunity for you, for the students, for the high school?
Well, ours started a pathway and it extended my program. And those were, I had 8 different classes that I taught, so those who are from high school know what that means. And the students felt like they were going through a mini program. Having those 2 college classes, because those were the first 2 that I articulated with the college, kind of was the capstone where they were ready for the next thing. Also, I just wanted to stay in the program. The requirement was junior or senior. Had to do with level of maturity. They needed to have a certain level of gone through world history. That was kind of the premise behind it for us. So if you're thinking of those things. But also then they were ready to leave high school, and now they had somewhere they could probably go. And I think that helped in a bigger way more than anything else. Because before then, even if they were thinking of going to college, and I'm sure we've all worked with some of these students because now I'm out of college, is they're there, but they're not really sure what they're doing there. And so this kind of gave them direction so they weren't wasting a lot of time that first year muddling through some things. They had a better place to start, which helped to guarantee that they would finish.
I'm just wondering if there was a later maybe follow-up or tracking so specifically back in high school to go to business school, and maybe perhaps later join global trade, and was that? I'm
actually in contact. I'm one of those weird teachers because I had an internship, which was the highest capstone in the class. I have probably every student I've ever worked with cell phone numbers because I had the same contact with them. And we traveled competitively for Future Business Leaders of America, FBLA, and won both state and national titles with our business program. And we're still together. In fact, I have now internship sites from former students who moved on. As far as completing high school, that was probably an unsaid benefit when you had asked that earlier. And I know a lot of people know who Tatiana Giri is, who was one of my students, but she's one of many who are doing what they wanted to do with business. And so there isn't, and that's why I track where I'm at now, because I get those questions. But seeing where they've gone off into, and we have a lot of entrepreneurs, and that's the other side, I think, with global business, is showing them, even if it doesn't sell here, it'll sell somewhere. And if you know that, when you're thinking of, instead of saying, oh, well, nobody here would buy it, now it's like, where could I sell it? And then they stick with it. And we have had several that are very successful in that regards, and many that just went on into business, not necessarily launching their own company, but it makes a difference. If you watch $1 Million Listings, that's another one of my students who his senior year got an internship with Jeff, with some of the work he'd done through the international business classes. And now he's like third in command, and he's 23, maybe 22. So they're everywhere. Jonathan Russo. Tatiana. Here's Tatiana. So I do, that's just my person, they're like my family, and so I have a very large extended family as a result of that. But it's that networking, trying to teach them early that it's how you present yourself the first time, and then where that goes from there. And they remember who I am. I Facebook them. I'm here now. This is what I'm doing. If you guys have opportunities, send them my way. And they do the same thing.
Any other questions for Teresa and high school partnership? Yes.
Yes. Was it set up? Did you have it set up the program as a cohort, in that the students all start at the same time, end at the same time? I mean, we know the cohorts are they really help with success
Our
rate.
district really didn't have that, in particular at my high school. There weren't cohorts at that time, and so I forgot to repeat the question. Yes, if we had a cohort, and we didn't. I was like a mini cohort where it was just the business cohort. The students went through many of the classes. So I would get them as freshmen and they would go all the way through. As I was exiting the high schools, I had just started to do some of the partnerships with the other areas and would have liked to have seen that, but I understood it was a logistical nightmare for Dr. Roberts, who at that time was our VP of instruction, and trying to get it into a cohort is tough. But I also know I work with LBCC and Long Beach City Schools, and they have an amazing pathway cohort system, and it goes across. So that would be who I would direct you to in that regard. So they're probably one of the leading ones.
Well, thank you very much, Teresa. I appreciate your insight. Another question?
Yes. I was wondering, how do you get your students to network professionally? As far as, do they set up a LinkedIn profile, or how do you get them to network in a way that's not the typical social media?
Well, one of the things when my students first started in my class or my program, and it's still the same at my new position, but it's a different type of thing, is they go through and they fill out an application, and on their application to register for my program, and it just helps me help them to get to know some things, is there's a box there for Facebook. What is your Facebook? If you have a Twitter. Back then they didn't have, in 2005, something like 9. They didn't even have LinkedIn at that time. And I left the high school 13-14 was my last school year with them. So we really watched Facebook. When I first started, it was MySpace, and it was teaching them how to use it correctly for business and for education and professional needs. And then the other part was learning just to ask for, I think the gentleman, Mr. Clark, who was up here earlier, I think that was his name, said, learn to shake a hand and ask for a business card. And then read the business card. And then send them an email. It was nice to meet you, even if you don't have a direct connection to that individual now, and start building. Tell them what it is you want to do, because you don't know who they know, and go from there. And I think just being articulate and confident in who you are. We have a student who is a college student now, and I've been working with him here at this event. He's an intern at the U.S. Department of Commerce. And so I told him, when you introduce yourself, you can mention the college, that's fine. But you want to say, I'm an intern with the U.S. Department of Commerce, and I run this, this, and this in global logistics, because I don't know his title. Because all of a sudden, you're not just a student. You're a student with some skills, and that's what I believe in, is giving them the skills to help them go to the next level. And that networking piece is huge, knowing how and when to network. And always ask for a card and read it. Read the card.
Any other questions? Fantastic. Thank you very much. So we're going to take a jump, and we're going to talk to Chris about the process of articulating from the community college to the university. All right? So if
Okay, so there's one other benefit. Once teachers, high school teachers, learn the college program and figure out who those colleges are articulated with, San Diego State, Cal Poly Pomona, whatever the schools are, that's that other connection to keep those students going. Where before, maybe they didn't do so well in high school, and our goal, if you wanted to compete with me, was with CIF rules had to be a 2.0. They couldn't qualify to transfer or go straight to a 4-year, but coming to a 2-year school, they could.
Perfect segue. Show me some how to do that.
Thank you.
All right. So work with your feeder CSUs. All right. It's a little easier process. Their programs are a bit more hands-on, more practical-oriented than the UCs. I haven't had an opportunity to yet get into the door with UC, but it took me a while to get into Cal State Fullerton, so I haven't given up yet. Find partners who want to partner. Right? Does it have to be the college down the street? No. We have an articulation agreement with the University of Northern Iowa. And our board of trustees asked, well, is it an online program? We said, yeah, no, students are going to Iowa. Who's going to go to Iowa? The students who want to study international business and want to have an adventure. They want our students from Southern California. We have a wonderfully diverse population that isn't everywhere. And if you're training them, they want it. Our partner at the University of Northern Iowa trains with the CGBP, and she's getting students that are already CGBP. So they're competing at the highest levels. So think outside the box. Get your faculty, get in front of the Cal State faculty. Oftentimes we think it's an administrative thing, but the faculty are the ones that actually move this forward. And you are the best advocate for your classes and programs. You know what you teach and the competencies that you create. You need to sit down with the Cal State faculty and your transfer partners and talk to them about what you do. You get them excited, then they're going to get their administration excited, and then you have an opportunity. That's how this process has worked for us. And most important, think creatively. Think creatively about how you get your classes to transfer. And I'm going to show you what we did with Cal State Fullerton after we talked to Chris a little bit, and then tell you why we were able to do that. But by thinking outside of the box, we took 15 years of struggle of getting Cal State Fullerton to talk to us to turn it around in less than 2 years. And so it can happen. So I want to introduce you to Chris Bauer. He is the, as I said earlier, the director of the International Business Center at Cal State Fullerton. And I wanted to ask you the same questions I asked Teresa. What's the benefit of an articulation agreement with a community college?
Well, I'll have to say within the context of the Halo College of Business and Economics, it's a really tough question to answer because we are a highly impacted university. We are also the third largest undergraduate business program in the country now with over 8,000 students. And those numbers increase on a semester by semester basis. So we'll get into the question about the difficulties that ensued in the conversation, and part of that is related to buy-in because we, as a college, don't need the students. But we do need them in international business. And so the benefit for us from the international business program perspective is sustainability and using that as a mechanism by which to build spillover effects into our broader business program that is in dire need of a broader base of global competency, skill set development, and has never really been a concern. But the business community here locally is requesting that, and we're not providing it. So when Madeline, through all of her years, I was not around this area to know the struggles that ensued, but when we met and discussed opportunity, I understood that pretty quickly. So we took advantage, really, of Santa Ana and the motivation that they had and the strong program that they had developed over the years to build ours. You may not look at it that way, but often what you're doing at a community college can assist four-year institutions in becoming more innovative. And as an AACSB accredited business school, we're being called upon now during our next accreditation visit to address three main things: engagement, innovation, and impact. And that is exactly what these programs do. So I'll say that it really helped us build our program.
So you mentioned some struggles. What were some of those struggles?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have mentioned. We tried to be PC. I'll try to put it in the best light possible. I think the biggest, again, as I mentioned initially, was buy-in, because the college itself does not need the students from this sector specifically, right? So we have 9 main feeder schools now, community college feeder schools. That has been reduced over the years because we cannot maintain the level of interest that we get. We turn away substantial numbers of students across from the university's perspective as a whole. We are inundated with requests from across the state, plus outside the state of California now. And that really dissuades administration from getting involved in these conversations about how to develop pathways, because that's kind of guaranteed admittance into our program. And ours is SB 1440 as well, which caused another set of problems because these guaranteed access pathways are a struggle in an impacted institution. That was one. The other is business faculty. To say yes, that you look at my credentials, I do have a PhD. I have sympathies to tenure track faculty. I have considered it myself, but I'm not on that side, which gives me the freedom, I guess, to say that sometimes they don't see the forest for the trees, and they also have their own sets of interests. We are a regional comprehensive university. We speak to the same constituencies that you do, but often our faculty look at other interests and would like to be at a UC or what the Carnegie Foundation used to call R1, Research 1 institutions, and do not focus on some of these issues. So we struggle with that. So faculty, from our perspective, was not the best gateway into the conversation. We had to find another path, which Matt will talk about a little bit. I think the other is that international business is sometimes misunderstood. And it is interdisciplinary, and you would be surprised to learn that, and many on our campus thought that we had our own faculty and had our own standalone department, and didn't realize that they've been helping us to exist over the years, because we rely on their faculty from the Department of Accounting, from the Department of Finance, from the Department of Management, from our Information Systems and Discipline Sciences Department, and from our Department of Modern Languages, which is struggling with their own issues. And we had to make it very clear to them that we're in a partnership here, and we also assist them in bringing in students that help to maintain their programs, which, given the impacted nature of our institution, they often don't pay much attention to. So I think those are kind of the main issues. I think the other struggles that you kind of highlighted is that sometimes the conversation between 2-year institutions and 4-year institutions is not very amicable, and part of that is because there's prejudices on both sides. And we just have to break through those. And so again, sometimes, as Madeline was saying, it's the right partner, and finding someone who's willing to sit down and have a conversation and say, I don't really care what someone told you before. We want to make something happen here. We'll find our way to work around those issues. Is it also important? And I emphasize that too, because I do say on both sides of the fence. Just as our industry representative earlier mentioned, that business has its own perspective, and that's also been an impediment, I think, to some of these program developments. We've struggled with that, but in the particular case of pathways, it's misconceptions, prejudices that we have to struggle with.
So, challenges, opportunities. What do you think the greatest opportunity has been with this partnership? What are some of the things that have come out of benefits?
Well, I mean, the first thing, as I mentioned earlier already, is a lot of what you have done, and I highlight the Lynn's activity at Santa Ana, Glenn Doolittle, Gabriel Schwery, others who've been involved in developing the strength of your program. I think from our perspective, at least from the International Business Program, has given us an idea of what we could do to build a program that is strong in its skill development, but also skirts the very difficult issue to broach at a 4-year institution, and that is the vocational nature of it, the hands-on and practical nature, which we do struggle against. Given the prejudices of our faculty sometimes, who want everyone to go and get their PhD and teach business rather than practice it. And some of the mechanisms that we use by which to gain acceptance for the transfer of credit from the program at Santa Ana, which is not aligned with ours at all, as far as one-to-one articulation, into the program and open up the space for us then to address other concerns. Now we have the only degree program in the College of Business with 5 courses, 15 units of elective space that students can freely choose to address any one of the myriad of interests that they might develop. So they're no longer boxed in to 1 or 2 or 3 particular pathways. They can do what they want. And so I told students, if you want to go take a class in basket weaving and you can justify it to me, because you want to develop a business that sells baskets, feel free. I mean, they can do anything as long as it addresses the primary concern and motivation of the program. So I think that was part of it. The other is opening up our eyes too. And again, I highlighted this before. As a regional comprehensive university, we should be embedded in the local and the regional economy. Right? You may have noticed that our president, Mildred Garcia, goes out very often now into the community and presents her case for what Cal State Fullerton can provide to the local community, particularly the business community. But we do not have a strong economic development unit on our campus. But we do have a very large College of Business with a lot of resources that has not been actively engaged. And we are going about now utilizing that to open up more space for conversations with the community to figure out what we can do to provide assistance. And it's something that we, for some reason, had never considered, which is strange to me. And again, I didn't come from a non-business background, but assuming what business should be doing and what colleges should be doing to support that, and then coming in and finding out that they don't, was shocking. And I think that through these conversations, it's given us access to pathways, individuals sitting here participating in this PRO-GTL conference, but in other areas too, just to give us more opportunities to engage.
So pathways are the structure that we talk about, but partnerships are really what we're creating. And as I mentioned, it took us many years to get the door open. And
I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to ask you.
It literally, it was 14 years of banging on the door. And we kept saying, we're doing something, our kids are learning, and they know something. Well, yeah, but we want them to know this. And then the ASTs came along, so everybody just needed a business administration AST. And don't get me started on that program. But we're teaching them international business skills, and Cal State Fullerton has an international business program, and it took a partnership, a relationship development with Chris and staff and our faculty and our DSN to make it happen. And so I know Chris is here, and there are schools here, and he's open to chatting about other partnerships.
Yes, indeed. If you have interest, let me know.
Because the students that go are prepared, and they're being successful, and it's a wonderful opportunity. So any questions for Chris? He has lots of cards to talk to. Sorry, we can go to the next class. Sorry, I want to quickly talk to you about what thinking creatively is, and this is a little bit of a mess, but our program was created on a functional basis, so we wanted to bring industry experts in. So we don't teach international marketing. We have 4 one-unit classes that create an international marketing track. Try to get that to articulate, right? And international marketing at a university is a 300 level, and you're talking 100 level. So what we did is said, okay, we're not going to try to articulate one for one. So we took our track classes, those are the ones in purple, and as a group, they fulfill a functional part of the international business degree, the functional requirement. As a whole, those units transfer as a whole. So I didn't have to go, justify to the international marketing faculty at Cal State Fullerton that our class was equal. No offense. Our students do rocket international market research. Because Chris negotiated a process where the classes go in bulk. Through the CID process, you've got business writing and accounting that transfer right into the requirements, right? Your Econ 100, 101, those transfer right in. 2 additional classes to the international business degree that students have to take in STAT are business law and what's the other one? There's one other one. I can't see it from here. One other class. So 2 extra classes, and they transfer into your status in the international business degree. But we had to think creatively. So we took this model from an articulation agreement we have with Cal Poly Pomona, brought it to Cal State Fullerton, and said, if you create something like this, we're good to go. and they did. So your programs, in talking with Chris, and I know some of you are talking to Cal State Dominguez Hills, these are the kinds of conversations you need to start having, because it is difficult. Most of the international business classes at the universities are 300 level, and they're not going to articulate 1 to 11. They creatively, right? Because your students have skills, and you have those skills, the strategic, managerial, theoretical learning they get at the upper division level. How employable are they? I'd say pretty employable.
And I'll say as an aside, I think one of the things that this helps students achieve too is, I'm a big proponent of studying abroad, and I think a lot of students that transfer from two-year institutions feel like they cannot do that because many of these pathways don't exist. And so when they transfer in, they have so many additional units to fulfill that they're very scared by what an opportunity like studying abroad would mean for their chances of graduating on time, for financial considerations or what have you. But with this in place now, Santa Ana students come in, they can easily fulfill those 60 units within 2 years. And on top of that, with the partnerships we're working on now to make credit transfer from overseas institutions easier, those students who never considered studying abroad or transferring into Santa Ana are now among those that are going out this fall, and our numbers are increasing dramatically too. And so this is another spillover effect that has taken place due to our ability to just think a little bit creatively. And I'll highlight that too. As Madeline mentioned, you have to be willing to do that and find someone who is willing to do that, and avoid the word articulation. Articulation is a word that it pulls out university policy statements and all these other things. All you got to do is figure out how you get the students over there. What are the best ways to get them a successful opportunity to graduate on time? That's it. Other stuff, let others deal with it. And they will once they understand what the opportunity is. So creativity and avoiding those catchwords like articulation.
Now, one other benefit is this backflow. Cal State Fullerton lower division students can't learn the transactional level skills that our program teaches. So we are starting to see a few of the Cal State Fullerton students come back and take our certificate classes so that they can prep and become CGBPs. So there's a bit of a two-way street there, which is really nice.
I forgot to put that under too, because the student efforts of proselytizing the CGBP, I have that too. So that has an impact too on me, but on others too, to show that those partnerships can help faculty to develop, because I don't educate my classrooms much anymore, but I'll tell you, we spend a lot of time educating faculty opportunities, and that's part of it, so it's good to see it.
Yes, very good. So I'm going to sit down and turn the mic over to Lynn, and she's going to talk to you about resources and infusion and some opportunities to find some tools. And before we do that, I want to thank Chris for his insights. All right, y'all still awake? Yes. I realize I'm going to have over time.
Okay, I don't know what now. When we talk about global trade and content and preparing students, infusion into existing classes is one way to get the ball rolling and getting them to develop that global mindset. Because I've sat with many, many employers, and the one thing that they say is that we expect students and our employees to come equipped with a global perspective already. They need to understand geography, they need to understand the global economy, and what's happening is they're not. And so infusing, and when I mentioned I'm a global trade evangelist, that's true. I'm constantly preaching global trade and end-to-end class. I don't care where it is, just put it in there. And CTE courses are a perfect place. I just did a training for Saddleback College in Orange County, their CTE faculty, and I had instructors from horticulture to automotive, culinary, and fashion. They said, okay, where do we infuse? And I thought, wow, this is challenging. But giving an overview of global, and I was tackling global marketing and global market research. It fits in everywhere. If you're in a fashion program, you're going to have to source overseas. How do they do that? If you're in manufacturing, again, sourcing, you're going to export a product at some point. Business, accounting, it doesn't matter. Right? We're a global economy. That is not going to change. And so how do we get that information into the classes? And there is a lot of material that has been developed for high school and for community college. I have access to it, Madeline has access to it, she's helped develop it, Teresa that was here has helped develop it, but it's out there, and so we can connect you with that material as well. And that's where connecting with your DSNs is really important. This is what we're here for. And we have access to this material. We can come and sit down with your faculty. We can work with you to figure out where to place information if you want. Core courses, the same thing. Pathways, again, that's the buzzword. Pathways is really very much a focus now. And so when I was talking to some of the pathway coordinators in Orange County about global trade and where can we get this going, they said, well, you know, pathways, global trade isn't one of the pathways we chose. It was advanced manufacturing and biotech and I think engineering or something. I said, global's not a part of any of that? And that was the thinking. And they said, well, it's not global. I said, well, hold on. And I went through the list of aren't you going to source from overseas and export? And I said, by the way, medical devices are one of the largest exports from Orange County. We're the big producer. And then the light bulb went on. So you can infuse it anywhere. I mean, anywhere. And so I would encourage, even if you're not looking at making lessons or activities, at least take 2 or 3 minutes out of your day with the students and talk about something global. I don't care what it is. It's just starting that conversation and getting them to think that way. And so where do you go and find the information for this? Let's go to the next slide. I'm really big on resources, and our website is one of them. And so I put up there, for Los Angeles, the incoming DSN for global trade is Leah Gould-Hawes. It has currently been Leanne Chua. She is transitioning out. But there's her email address, their website, and phone number. And if anybody wants this PowerPoint presentation, by the way, please email me. I've got cards and things at the table. And I will put this up also on our website. And then my website's orangecountycitd.com, because we are a Center for International Trade Development as well. And again, whether it's speakers or events, training, workshops, help with curriculum content, please contact us. Next slide, please. So I put some online resources up here. This is for IBEA, and so when we talk about IBEA, Madeline's going to go over that in just a minute. This is where we mentioned earlier a repository of content that will be developed pretty soon, but this is the resource page. And I know it's really hard to see, but we have this on our, you can get to this from our Orange County CITD website as well. But this is research that's been done. There's our websites you can access if you need articles or information or data to develop some things and talk to your classes about or infuse. Okay, so there's, we've got the IBEA one is what's highlighted, but again, you can access that through our website as well. Another really, really good website is Global Edge. This was developed out of Michigan State University, their cyber, and that's the Center for International Business Education Research. And this, to me, I make my students register every semester because it's free, and I encourage faculty to do it as well. As you can see, they have up on the right, and I don't know if you can see that red circle, but they have an academy, and this is for faculty and for students. And then the next, on the lower, your left, that circle is showing some of the materials. They have there's a glossary too. And if you clicked on that, next slide, you would get to the course content was the previous one, but this will show you their syllabi available. They have a few available at the graduate level, but then undergraduate level. And there's a long list of syllabi, different types of courses, community college level, a few universities in there. But this material is on there. And there is a host of other material on that website. There are narrated PowerPoints on doing business in various countries, on various global trade topics. There are articles, there are videos. And so that, if I could tell you one website, globaledge.msu.edu. But again, you can find all of these websites both on the IDEA website and on my website, and I believe on Leah's as well. And those are the ones that really have the resources, and if you're trying to kind of educate yourself on global trade and what's out there, great place to start. Okay, and that's about it for resources. I know I kind of went through them quickly, but I want to leave room to talk about IDEA because this is a great continuation, and the marketing of now you create classes and the content, now how do you market them? I'll turn it back over now.
We also have a very distinct.
We also have a very distinguished gentleman with us who has been in international trade. How many years, Maurice? Yeah, of course I'm talking about Maurice Kogan. Oh, 55 years. So there's a resource in and of itself. Maurice, put your hand up. Maurice has created some amazing tools for export readiness. He's got a wonderful website full of links and opportunities. So if nothing else, get your card out and ask him for one of his. He's kind of the guy in Southern California when it comes to global trade and logistics. All right, so marketing. Most importantly, you've got to have a story to tell, which means you've got to make this thing dynamic. One of the biggest challenges for CTE faculty is we don't get to teach history, right? It changes all the time. Things are always new. There's new regulations, there's new opportunities, there's new documents, there's all kinds of things. So make sure that you are staying updated and you have a story to tell. One of the ways to do that is to begin the semester with an orientation. The week before classes start, we're on a flex schedule. Our faculty open the doors to their classrooms for 2 hours, invite all the students that are registered in their classes, students from previous semesters, to an orientation. And they spend time talking about their programs. And they tell them not only what's required, but what are the opportunities in terms of the next step, articulation agreements for transfer. And we have a tagline. We don't tell them about jobs and careers because they fall asleep when you tell them about jobs and careers because they don't want to go to work. We tell them about money, travel, and adventure. There you go. Right? It's got to be fun. So if every community college sold money, travel, and adventure, we'd all have tons of students. So feel free to use it. Come up with your own tagline. Have some fun. But bring the students together. That creates some connections for them. They'll find those faces in their classes, and they're going to have somebody to talk to and study with. They're also going to know who your professors are. They're going to be able to ask them questions. They're going to be able to connect with the professors. I always ask my students, how many of you know my name? Right? I'm about this high, dark hair, about that big. And they don't know us, but we try to know them, right? Make sure they know who your faculty are, because you're the ones that are going to be able to get them into the right classes at the right time. Really, really important. How many of you have a Facebook page or Instagram for your department? Yeah, no. I know it's a pain in the neck, but you got to have something. Now, the kicker is posting, right? We have an assignment where all the students like us on Facebook. We connect our department Facebook page, my division Facebook page with the college page, and occasionally the college picks up some of the things that we're talking about and doing. We'll have pictures of the event here. It's challenging enough to keep your website up, but if you can put together a social media page and you can post, get all of your faculty linked to it, and you'll be surprised at the kind of information you can get out of that. While the electronic side of it's fantastic, the good old-fashioned bulletin board works, right? It's amazing. You see students in the hallways kind of staring at these things. Get your brochures up there, put your pathway up there, tell them what classes you're offering, and get those bulletin boards in the classrooms as well. That's where they're hanging out before and after, right? So while we have to go digital, the old-fashioned bulletin boards work incredibly well. Have an event. You're thinking, oh gosh, I got to plan one of those too. Again, it creates that connection and it brings the students together. Through your DSN, they can provide you with guest speakers, right? We always do an end of the semester event where we bring our classes together on Wednesday night. And you're thinking, gosh, but I have to give a final. Give them a take-home final, seriously. Bring them together, bring in a guest speaker, have some food, do some recognition. It takes a while for the college certificates to get put in the mail and processed. We create little certificates in the department. I have all the full-time faculty sign them, and we bring them up and take pictures, and they have some fun, and students come back semester after semester. And we do some goofy thing. Every semester we come up with a TV show theme and we do something. We've done the Academy Awards to Dancing with the Stars, go global to you name it, we've done it. Have fun. Let them enjoy this process and get them excited. Have some competitions. At our end of the semester event, we bring all of the classes together and we mix them up and they have little group competitions. This semester in 2 weeks, it's GBE, the department's called Global Business and Entrepreneurship, Road Warriors. So we're going to tell some stories that we've had from the road, our different faculty. We're going to have a little case study, divide the students up, and they're going to have a competition and we'll give out some Starbucks gift cards. So connect the students by mixing the pot. That they start talking about classes. Clubs, we haven't been particularly successful with a club just because so many of our students are night students, but many campuses are very successful with international business clubs. That creates that cohort. Here's where things get really interesting. Like I said, we didn't know that when we signed up to be full-time faculty members, you were half salesman, half faculty person, half administrator, and that's already 1.5. Your full-time faculty need to teach your foundation courses. Your intro to business, your intro to international business, your intro to management, and like Lynn said, you got to talk from a global perspective. My foundation teachers teach foundations or fundamentals of business from a global perspective, right? Now they're like, well, what's this global stuff? How do I do this? How do I sell overseas, right? How do I market overseas, right? And in every class, you teach 4 or 5 sections. You get 2 or 3. Now you got 20 in an intro to international business class, right? So you've got to keep them talking. Have the teachers teach in each other's classes, right? My background is marketing. So I would go teach marketing in a fundamentals class, and I would swap out with my accounting teacher, right? Or I would have the guy that does logistics come in one night and I'd go teach his class. Right? Now we've all meet the middle call, so we're okay on all that. But now they're seeing the teachers, they're getting to know you, and then they ask, well, what other classes are you teaching? Mix up the pot. Think creatively. Get them excited. Different teachers at the front of the class, and they're like, is this the right place? And it's amazing what happens. Tap into your adjuncts. Get those adjuncts that are discipline experts, right? There's nothing better than the story of what happened at work today, right? So you bring in your banker, you bring in your freight forwarder, and I had a container stuck at the port, and this is what happened, and the students realize that, he's doing it, I can do it, right? That sounds kind of fun. Use your adjuncts to teach your technical classes. Keep your full-time faculty in those foundation classes. That's where you build the enrollments. That's where you build the excitement. We talked about pathways. So I want to leave you with keeping us connected, right? How many of you are going to leave here going, gosh, I wish I could talk to? Why can't we continue that conversation? I have a question. We've been asking ourselves that for the past 20 years, and so because of the CTEF funds, we created IDEA. So if I can go to the last slide. There's a table, there's brochures, the International Business Education Alliance. We need to stay connected, right? You might need an adjunct faculty member. They're going to be up there. You might need resources. Where do I go find, right? our question was, how do we keep a website exciting and get people to come back to it? Well, it's difficult to do that. So we created a website, IBE-alliance.org. And then we created a social media platform, right? Get information about that at the website. There, we can continue the conversation. We can find you. You can find us. So please join us, become part of the Alliance, and we can make this work together. Okay? All right, we're going to be around if you have any questions. Special thanks to Lynn